This is Ahmad Mansour with SPR, and welcome to the Expanding Business Engagement Virtual Learning Series, Session 1, Transformation Stories. We're really excited about today, and I think it's going to be extremely informative. It's going to be fun, and as you know, we like to make it fast-moving as well. So before we get started, would love to welcome our DLL team and our colleague, and I believe that Jonathan's on the line to say hello. Here you go, Jonathan.
Great, thanks, Ahmad. Hey, everybody, this is Jonathan, and there's a few of us from ETA on the line, Stu Werner, Jeff Ryan, Jem Pirtle, Megan Lizick. We're all sort of scattered about the building today, but we're all here and excited to participate with you all today. Just want to say a couple words about how happy we are that we've reached this point. We feel like we really got some momentum going throughout the stops and starts of this project, and we really just want to reiterate how appreciative we are that you've stuck with it, and we really are finally showing the fruits of our labor with this series of webinars and the new resources that we have posted on the website. So, like I said, thank you to everybody, and really looking forward to today's session. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Ahmad.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. So once again, you all have heard this voice by now, but once again, this is Ahmad Mansour, the project manager for the Expanding Business Engagement Initiative with SPR. And with me is our brilliant team, Kristen Wolf, who will be hosting, and you'll be hearing her voice throughout today's web meeting, as well as Sam McCoy. You'll be hearing his voice doing some facilitation throughout the session. So I want to welcome them for all of the great work that they've brought to this web meeting, as well as recognize Trace Elms, who's not with us today, but has contributed so much to our preparation for today, as well as David, who is here in lieu of Trace, and he'll be on the back making things work. And of course, Vince, the director, Vince Coulter, the director of SPR's training and technical assistance division. So, welcome. So, would like to first, before we get started, go over the instructions, all of which you have seen before. So we don't have to spend a great deal of time because I believe at this point we know where all the buttons are. But nonetheless, we know that most of you know how it works. But in case you do not, let's just quickly go over some of the mechanics. So today there are no polls. We'll move right to chat. And first, type your questions into the text box, and then hit enter and click return, the return button, and that's it. So just be sure that you actually do return, and you will see your message pop up, and the rest of you will not. So if you would like to send your message to the presenters only or to other participants, click on the drop-down arrow and choose your intended recipient. If you do not select a recipient, the message will be sent to everyone. So we invite you to use the chat box on the left to submit questions throughout the web convening. We'll try to address them as we go along, and of course there's going to be a Q&A session. So we just want to also let you know about something that we're prepared for, and we don't expect any challenges, but just to make you aware of this, because we have a huge bunch of participants here today. So we like to call this the fire drill. So towards the end of the session, we will plan to unmute you all so that you may talk to each other. However, there's a risk that when we do this, sometimes the technology competes with itself, and sometimes it triggers what we like to call this fire alarm drill, and literally it sounds like a fire alarm. So we hope to avoid this today, and I think that we will. So we ask a couple of things from you all as participants today. First, keep your phone muted at all times unless you are speaking. Deactivate your microphones on all devices, including computer and the webcam, to avoid feedback and echoing. And lastly, avoid using third-party applications such as Skype and EBE. Just use your phone to call into the web meeting. And that's it. So real quickly, let's just go over the agenda. It's a full agenda, and once again, we'll be moving pretty quickly throughout this session. So once again, we'll talk about dashboards with the Ohio team. We'll have a chance to focus in on some transformation stories to really make it real with our Colorado team. And we'll do some activities related to some of the transformation stories that we'll have available. And then we'll have David Hunn, who will, as many of you know, was on one of our first calls, and he'll talk a little bit more about ROI and effective practices. And then once again, we'll share some transformation stories around ROI. And then we'll close and give you an idea of what to expect for tomorrow. So that's it, but so that we can go into a little bit more detail, I'm going to turn it over to Kristen.
Sorry about that. I left myself on mute a little bit longer. Hi, everybody. So here's our roadmap for the week. And as Ahmad indicated, we'll focus on transformation today, starting off by Tanya and her colleagues sharing some information about what they're using to incent and measure transformation in Ohio. And then we've asked Karen Hoops and her team to share a little bit about their work in Colorado. And then we'll engage you in thinking about transformation within your own teams. And we'll follow up with David, who will share some information about ROI and how it reveals the impact of transformation. And then finally, we'll ask you to share your own transformation stories. We'll be together for about 2 hours, and 30 minutes of this will be an activity. And as a reminder, you'll need a marker or crayon and a piece of paper and a camera phone or digital camera. And if you're not in the same physical space, you might need the ability to conduct a conference call or otherwise talk to one another. That's our schedule for today. And then tomorrow, we've invited our colleagues at NOB to share information about Add1, which is one of the effective practices we'll be highlighting as part of the project. And we've also asked Ken Messina from Massachusetts to share his team's approach to aggregating metrics in a common dashboard. Tomorrow we'll be together for about 90 minutes, and there will be no homework. And then on Friday, we've got some exciting things planned around social media with Spencer Critchley of Boots Road. So he'll share his wisdom around kind of the changing media landscape and how public agencies and social cause organizations can use it. And then we'll do some hands-on activities and some trying out of new tools. And we'll be together on that day for about 2.5 hours, a little longer than usual because it's our last learning session. And in preparation for that, we'll be sending you a 5-minute video to watch just before. And then finally, in a couple of weeks, we'll meet as a group for the last time and go over all the resources that we've collectively developed throughout the project and talk about how we can apply them going forward. So now I'm handing the floor to Sam McCoy, who's been working with many of you to plan this week and gather up tools and resources to support it. Sam?
Great, thank you, Kristen. So over the past few webinars and convenings, there have been many questions and comments that have come up around the subject of metrics and dashboards in business engagement. Obviously, these measures and dashboards can take a number of forms, but after talking to our colleague in Ohio, we thought we would ask them to walk us through the dashboards and the metrics that they're currently using and how these tools are making a difference. So before we hand this over, I just want to remind everybody that you may have thoughts or questions that get inspired from this discussion. So please be sure to type these questions in the chat box to the left, as we'll have a couple minutes to take a question or two. And also, if you're having trouble reading the text on your screen, up here in the upper right of your computer screen, you can always make the whole screen go to full. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Tanya.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to present on this. What I'm going to be going over today is just two of the tools that we recently have acquired here in Ohio to help us with information regarding supply and demand. The first one that we have here is basically our One Analytics tool. And how this came about was, as you know, we're all required to have a state-run system for labor exchange and all that loveliness, but we were never able to truly give a good, detailed report on the type of people who actually live in Ohio. What are their skills around that? The employers, what are they truly looking for? We only get a certain percentage of employers who actually contact us as an agency directly, but we still want to know, as a state agency that's responsible for the workforce development of Ohio, truly what is the metrics out there regarding the state of Ohio, whether they actually come to us as an agency or go private industry with it. So we actually partnered with Monster.com back in 2012 for this tool through, of course, a bidding process. And what they did was they actually contracted with a company called Wanted Analytics, who contracts with another company called HWOL, now I completely forgot. This is so lovely. Online, I know it's online. So sorry about that. Completely slipped my mind what that goes through. But however, we are partners with all three of those. And what we now actually have access to is a dashboard of all of the online job postings throughout the state of Ohio. And I know the screen is really small for you guys, but however, what we can do with this metric is we can actually pull up information regarding the number of job counts that are out there for all the postings. We can break it down by whether they're full-time, part-time, what are the top hiring employers in the state of Ohio, truly based on all electronic board postings in the system, not just in our internal systems, but through all online job ad boards. They actually go out and aggregate all of that data. We can give you the top sites that are used within the state of Ohio based on IPs and so forth like that. We can also go in and filter it down by looking at and saying, okay, we have a supply and demand. How good are we at meeting that supply and demand? So on our summary piece of this tool, we can literally go in and it can tell us the potential candidates throughout the state of Ohio, meaning basically those ones who are able, available, and can seek work, whether they're working or not, whether they've ever used our services or not. It's just kind of a report that they've been able to somehow get this nice algorithm in the background. And then it also takes the number of online job ads, and we can actually see how close are we to meeting the potential candidates out there, as well as the competing employers that are competing for those employers. Other things that we can actually see throughout here, if you'll see, we can actually go in and filter it out. Like, let's say we've got an employer who's looking at competition in his area, or we've got a company who's, our Chamber of Commerce wants to know, you know, we've got a company that's moving to the area, but they want to know what's the most productive area of Ohio to come into. So we can literally come in and look by locations and give them an idea of what's the top type of employment by each location. Break it out by the SOCs of the type of jobs, as well as the FIPS codes, the actual, break it all the way down to the county and city area of the state of Ohio. Now, we do have some of the tools that allow us to actually compare ourselves to other states. And that's what we use on the actual dashboard on demand that we use through HWOL. But I just wanted to give you a very brief overview of what we're using when it comes to the actual jobs that are listed electronically online within the state of Ohio. And this is the tool we finally use. And what this has allowed us to now do is, for those of you who have been in government for a while, I'm quite sure you're very much aware of a lot of private industry folks usually look at government in a not so positive way. But now that we have tools like this that can truly help with the workforce development of the state of Ohio, we now are completely partnered with our Ohio SHRM, our chambers, our smaller chambers all the way up to the state of Ohio ones. They're now actually truly coming to the Office of Workforce Development and getting data from us, working with us. We're now actually more of a partner with not just other state agencies, other county agencies. We're now really partnered with private industry and really getting the word out there about what Ohio has to offer as a whole. Now, the next tool that I'll actually go over is what we call our online talent dashboard. Back in, I want to say 2007, our director came up with this beautiful idea of completely revamping our labor exchange system on the self-service side of the house. And we came up with an idea of actually partnering with a private industry. So we actually partnered with Monster.com to help us do our labor exchange self-service side of the house, and just let them be the main creator and driver of the system, following our rules and regulations. And of course, once we got that going, what happened was everybody wanted to know, now you're getting a lot of talent in here. You're really hitting more than just those customers and individuals who are required to use state services. You're actually now getting a lot of data from others who have never come through the workforce development system of Ohio. So they started wanting to know, well, what's the skill set? So we're now hitting the supply and demand for the state of Ohio. We actually have a tool that goes in and looks at the 2.4 million resumes that we have as part of our contract with Monster. And these resumes include all of Ohioans who have ever registered with either our site directly or Monster.com directly, who lived in the state of Ohio. We also include a 50-mile radius of the border of Ohio, so we hit some of our neighboring states and pull in data from them. And we also include resumes for anyone within Monster's total national database who have indicated that they're willing to work in the state of Ohio. So at the beginning of our partnership with them, we went from a little over 80,000 resumes within our current in-house database to literally overnight over 2 million resumes. Now we're actually able to take this economic tool and show our potential customers who are coming into the state of Ohio what type of skill sets are available within the state of Ohio. We can literally start breaking it down by saying what type of occupations, what type of industries are they looking at. We can actually break it down by the user experience and so forth. We also have the ability to go in and truly look at the educational levels of all those agents who are registered within our system. So as an economic tool, we can literally now at a glance do a quick screenshot, send it off to whether it's our economic development chambers, whether it's some of our WIB areas that are out there requesting information. We get a lot of our senators and so forth who ask for information. Our governor literally has a direct line to both me and my boss so that we can pull this whenever he's going out in any different piece of the state so that he can actually pull data. And when he's actually out there presenting, we can pull the data and tell the employers in that area, this is the skill set that you have available to you. Are you tapping in your local skill sets? We can work with our educational partners and actually tell them what type of skill sets they currently have, and maybe you can tweak your class just a little bit so that you don't have to necessarily have a full new program set up. Maybe just tweak one you already have to meet the needs of the employers in your area. So we've allowed that partnership between our one-stops, our educational systems, to meet the needs of both our job seekers out there as well as our employers. We actually have the ability to literally go in and determine whether or not these resumes have been updated most recently. We can go in and filter it whether they're vet-only resumes, whether they're coming in by just internships and looking for just internships. And one of the biggest tools that we've used this for is our rapid response area. A lot of times companies will go ahead and do a major layoff and not necessarily always notify the state within the timely fashion like they're supposed to, or never notify us at all. Once we hear about this, we can literally use this tool and search by the last company and find out those individuals who were actually laid off by this company. So we have multiple ways of reaching out to not just the companies, but the individuals. And these two tools that we have shown, that I've shown you guys today, are really what we have been able to go from just being that state agency that we're required to deal with to really the top of the game when it comes to the workforce development within the state of Ohio. It's become such a great tool that it's literally bringing us in partnerships that we never thought we would ever be able to have or sustain within the state of Ohio. So those are the two that I just wanted to briefly show you guys. I will offer it up to anyone who has any questions. I'm willing to take them now. I believe we all received contact information before, so if you'd like to see a more in-depth demonstration of either of the tools, go ahead and just let me know, and we'll make an appointment and do a webinar or something and let you know. Okay, we did get one question. What are a couple more specific ways that this tool has changed the way you engage with employers? Oh, perfect example. Like the current tool, the dashboard that we have that includes all of the talent that we have out there, now that we have this great tool that we can actually look at and pull in the data, we've actually gone to employers who were specifically saying in a rapid response instance where they're saying they can't get the skilled people that they need to move their companies forward. They can't find these people, that they're just not here in the state of Ohio. So we can literally, during the middle of a presentation, pull out our iPads or anything like that, pull it up, ask for the area they're located in, what type of overall occupational information are you looking at, and then we can drill down the skills of those individuals. And we have actually done this several times during several of our governor's actual presentations where he has round board meetings with a lot of employers every quarter. And they give him the complaints of not being able to meet the needs, the hiring needs, and that's why they're considering moving out of the state of Ohio, or they're considering moving somewhere else. And we've actually been able to literally right then and there pull up this tool, show them the skill sets of the people already in the system, and then determine whether or not do you truly need someone to create a new training program, or do you truly just need to find out how to locate these people that are out there? Because most employers within the state of Ohio are small to medium companies, and they're not used to using an electronic tool to look for people. So it's really a hard sell for them to understand that the talent is there, it's just how are you trying to reach that talent. So that's one specific example that's happened multiple times throughout the 2 years that we've had this particular tool. The the wanted analytics tool that we have has literally helped us, and it's become a quarterly report that we put out that used to say, based on our LMI data, the projections of employment, things like that. With that one analytics tool, we're literally, instead of being 2 years behind, we're literally giving you last quarter's data. So you're not 2 years behind on projections. You're literally looking at data that was posted a quarter ago. And we actually do those and put them out in pre-populated. We broke our state out into 6 little sections called Jobs Ohio Regions, and we actually create those reports and put them out there for anyone to access from our site. So those are just 2 specific examples of how we've used these tools that have taken us from where we've never had the contact that's out there and an ability to truly immediately meet the needs of both our individuals and our job seekers, to actually now being able to meet it at the drop of a dime and really tell them what skill sets are out there and what jobs are actually out there that employers are searching for.
Great, thank you so much, Tanya. That's just amazing. I'm really glad that we were able to get you into this webinar. So all those of you who want to follow up with Tanya, I believe everybody has her contact information. I know she is more than willing to share what they've been doing. As some of you know, I've been contacting state grantees to gather examples of tools that are being used for your business engagement endeavors. And throughout these calls, it's really apparent that people are making real changes on the ground. And I'm glad to have had the opportunity to talk to a number of you about the progress that you're making on your plans and in your teams and throughout your states. It's really exciting. So early last week, I had a great conversation with Karen Hoops, who is the statewide coordinator for business development and rapid response in Colorado, and asked if she would be willing to talk a little bit about the work that her and her team have been doing thus far. So once again, as Karen is talking, feel free to type your questions in the chat box to the left. We will have a moment or two after she has finished talking to take any questions that you have. So with that, I am going to go and hand it over to Karen.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks again for inviting me today. I really appreciate it, being able to share what our lessons have been learned. Just as a way of background, Colorado is a locally controlled state, and we have 65 independently operating workforce regions, each with its own workforce investment board. Our regions often have different branding, different types and levels of service. So as you can imagine, coordinating across these regions is much like herding cats. And in Colorado, our EBE goal was to actually design a consistent and more effective method of engaging businesses, but also reporting those results across our 65 regions to get a true snapshot of our performance across those regions statewide. As independently operating regions, as you can imagine, each one has its own way of entering data into our statewide system. A lot of them were using different codes for different services. Our rural consortium was doing one thing, our urban centers doing another. And it was just really obvious that we needed to standardize across our regions so that reporting would give us that true snapshot we were looking for, and that we were able to meet our business and economic development goals. Now, compounding that problem was that each region really had its own goals that were not necessarily aligned to the state workforce or economic development goals. And so regions were using different strategies. We had different processes for engaging businesses and really different methods of recording and reporting data. And often there would be these pockets of really valuable standalone data in the regions that existed in customer relationship development systems or management systems outside the reach of our state systems. And this would have been important data to report as part of our quarterly reporting. Eventually, the business services reps began hearing from customers that their services were confusing, their service delivery unpredictable, so they became very motivated to work with us on the solution. We also realized at that time that an important part of the solution and one of our EBE goals was to develop a statewide professional development academy so that we could train our business services reps across the state to not just achieve a basic level of competency, but to also establish levels of competency with different specializations of interest to provide both a career path and a credentialing, and this was our EBE goal. And as you can imagine, as the discussions progressed on the need for this statewide standardization across the regions, we did encounter some resistance as regions realized that they would be held accountable, and they were concerned about, how this would look or how they would compare to other regions. And many didn't have the mechanisms for reporting in place that they felt were necessary to be able to accurately report the performance back to the state. Navigating this issue, as you can imagine, was very politically charged and challenging, but with the support of our Workforce Development Council and the high-level support that we received from our executive staff, we were able to navigate those difficulties. And we also knew that none of us, not the governor, not the State Workforce Development Council or our statewide Business Services Council, would be able to accomplish any of our goals without some kind of method of coordinating across an infrastructure that would allow the work to happen. So we believe, as we move forward, that there were really two major accomplishments that really transformed our efforts here in Colorado. And the first was really to obtain the high-level commitment of the executive director of the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, and then also to additionally gain commitment from the executive directors and the workforce centers in the region. We also knew we had to establish that sorely lacking infrastructure to align our goals and enable the work, and we wanted to set consistent goals. We wanted to establish strategy and action plans that were aligned with our governor's Colorado blueprint, as well as the Workforce Development Council's strategic goals. And after obtaining that high-level top-down commitment as well as the bottom-up commitment, we established what we called a business leadership team. And they are the ones that set the agenda to accomplish the items that we have established in our action plans. And they actually consist of the chairs and the co-chairmen of these work groups that we have established with statewide regional representation on each group. And the first job of the committee was to socialize and gain commitment on the statewide business action plan. So to accomplish the goals of that plan, we found that we really needed to establish those work groups. And so what we did was we established work groups focused on different priorities. We have a professional development work group that focuses on the development of training for our business development reps to achieve different levels of competency in engaging business and delivering services. We have a MIS group that focuses on the standardization of data and recording in our statewide systems, and the Toolbox Committee that is really dedicated to the development of tools to improve our business engagement and service delivery. The work groups, we feel, consist of the true experts. We have business development representatives in the regions across the state, and they're the ones who really best understand the challenges and have also developed best practices over the years in their regions that can be shared with other regions across the state. Oops. Team members were actually appointed by each workforce region executive director for 2-year or 1-year terms, with the chairs rolling off every 2 years and those chairs being replaced by the co-chairs, so we maintain the integrity and the historical knowledge of the group. And it also gives people an opportunity to participate or disengage as they need to due to their work schedules and other things. We also have found that in our EBE work, we have integrated the EBE team in with these other work groups, and we participate collaboratively to ensure that we're aligned with the EBE goals as well, which are really one and the same with the goals of these other work groups. So establishing this business leadership team and the work groups has really been transformative in helping us to move our EBE team and our initiatives. Just to give you kind of an example of the things that we've been able to accomplish over the last few months have been in the professional development work group, we actually have worked to develop a common language for business development reps to use when they're out there engaging businesses. One of the things, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is that our business services reps, like many others in other states, tend to go out and tell about our services rather than listen to customers' needs and being able to present the appropriate solutions in the language of business. So, for example, when we talk about rapid response, we now talk about outplacement services. When we talk about job placement and those types of things, when we talk about job fairs and those, we talk about recruitment, but mostly we talk about talent acquisition. So we're teaching and we're developing a strategy for helping our business services reps to speak more like a business when they're actually engaging business. The other thing we did through that team is we were able to develop sort of a design for our training track. So we'll have 3 different tracks, one of which is the business services professional track, and we introduced our first 3 modules at our training conference as part of the separate track at the Rocky Mountain Workforce Development Association conference, which was held as late as yesterday. It's the 2nd through the 5th. The 2nd through the 4th of June. We were able to introduce those first 3 modules, and we're going to take the feedback we receive from those and try to create a more sustainable training with online modules in a blended learning environment where there is a capstone project and a credential at the end of it. Our performance committee was able to get the regions to agree upon the 10 most common services. So after that, we began defining the specific coding that would go into our statewide system so that everyone is recording services and effectiveness in the same way, so that we can actually get that consistent snapshot and understand how different regions are performing across the state and how we're performing as a state altogether. We also developed through that committee a standardized code of ethics, and we were able to design a standardized employer satisfaction survey. The MIS group that we had established actually created a statement of work and communicated those needed changes to our state MIS committee. And the toolbox group that is working on a recipe book that is based on the best practices across the state. And they have produced a matrix that identifies the different regional services for businesses. And that's going to help us really improve our collaboration across the regions. For example, some of the things they included in the recipe book were sample letters, sample time frames for scheduling job fairs and customized hiring events and things such as that. So, but we recognize that without the appropriate infrastructure first in place, that we would not have been able to do the important work of the EBE, and we wouldn't have been able to do that without the high level and the low level commitments that we secured early in the process. So as states move forward, we hope that this information will be helpful to other states with locally controlled workforce regions in accomplishing their EBE goals. So at this time, I'd like to take any questions you might have. Okay.
Thank you so much, Karen. Actually, we have a few questions. I think we have time for one. Here we go. I'm just going to put it on the screen for you there.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm trying to find the question. Do you mind saying what?
Sure, Karen. So the question came in is, what was the biggest surprise you encountered in trying to shift from many independent efforts to a more aligned strategy for engaging and providing services to employers?
One of the surprising results was the amazing duplication of efforts and the tremendous number of good ideas that were across different regions that were actually combined into a way of doing things that incorporated a lot of what had been developed already. We were kind of surprised to know that all of that existed, and we had never heard about it.
That's great. So unfortunately, we actually had quite a few questions come in. Many people were interested in what you were speaking about. Unfortunately, we're going to have to keep moving, and so I think we're going to have to do a little bit of follow-up on this and follow up on these questions to gather this information for the toolkit that we're putting together. And so I'm going to go ahead and actually move into a little description of that. As I mentioned, over the past 2 weeks, I've been reaching out to all state grantees to gather examples of tools that you are using in your business engagement endeavors. We're hoping to gather as many of these tools and examples as we can from each state in the form of a resource toolkit for the EBE initiative. The resources that we're collecting are not specifically finalized. Rather, this is meant to be a collection of tools and examples, even if they are just in the beginning stages of development. As many of you have told us, so much of the value of this EBE initiative has come through the peer-to-peer sharing opportunities that have taken place. So we would like to build on that with this collective toolkit. Documents will include business or employer surveys, talking points that you may use when meeting with firms, drafts of metrics or measures, branding documents, any other tools that you can think of that others may benefit from or even build on. So I want to thank all those who I've been in contact with for sending in materials, and I will continue to be reaching out in the coming week. We're hoping to follow up with everyone to make sure that we receive something from each state by next week. So with that, I would like to hand it back over to Kristen, who will take us through the next part of our webinar.
Hi, everybody, and thanks so much. That was terrific, Tanya and Karen. Wow. Yeah, so we're going to move forward, but everyone else can know that we'll be reaching out and trying to aggregate as many of these tools for the toolkit as we can. So just a reminder, we're going to go to an activity now, and I just wanted to remind everybody to do your best to keep all other competing technologies away from the line. So use a phone. The activity may require you to get off the phone and then dial back in. So if you do that, be sure and dial back in on the phone. So again, just a warning. So we said there'd be an activity, and this is it. It'll be fun, we promise. We hope that you've had a chance to gather a piece of paper, a marker, and a crayon or something, and a digital or mobile camera as we requested. And if you haven't been able to do these, we're confident that you can improvise. So in keeping with our theme of the day, we'd like you to do the following. First, as a team, discuss your transformation story with the other members of your team. What's changed? How do you know? What's enabled the change? Keep in mind that your transformations could be on different scales. So for some of you, sharing a protocol that you use when you engage employers makes a very significant difference, even though it's only a small tool. For others, engaging a group of business people around something they're passionate about makes a huge difference in terms of how you relate to one another. Larger scale collaboration efforts can sometimes feel like they're stuck, and then something happens and there's a breakthrough. And so we're interested in sort of what was the breakthrough about. So the transformations at all levels, we're interested in those. So have a discussion about those with your team members. For some of you, it may mean calling each other. For others, you may be able to get a speakerphone. We'll have 30 minutes for the exercise. When you're done discussing, take your paper and markers or crayons and write one word or draw one image that represents your transformation story. How a focus on business engagement has changed what you do or how you do it and what difference it's made. The idea is to work in teams. So again, if you're not physically present with your team, go ahead and give the members a call. And then try and get your transformation story down to a single word or a single image. Draw it on your piece of paper, take a photo of it, send the photo, the digital photo, to Sam at the email address on the screen, and then be prepared to talk about it for 2 to 3 minutes at the end of our discussion. So we've allocated 30 minutes. We'll go ahead and stay on the line. You can leave and come back or stay on the line on mute, just as we are. And we will provide a warning at the 20-minute mark so that you'll know you have 10 minutes left. And then we'll also provide a 2-minute warning. That's what we'd like you to do. The states that presented today, Ohio and Colorado, you're welcome to join if you'd like to, but you've already shared a whole lot. And so we also invite you to instead kick back and enjoy a cup of tea while the rest of us are working. That would be just fine. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and put them in chat right now, and we'll try to address them. Otherwise, you have 30 minutes, so we'll see you back at 11:15. Okay, everyone, you have 1 minute to send your images to Sam, and the email address is on the screen. We'll be resuming in 1 minute. Okay, everyone. I hope you've all rejoined us now. I expect a couple more people will be coming in as we go. If you have not yet sent your image to Sam, his email address, one more time, is on the screen. So go ahead and send it. So thanks, everybody. And also, just to remind everyone, at the end of, we're going to move to David Hunn shortly, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do 2-minute reviews of the images. And at that point, we will be unmuting people's lines. So if you could self-mute your line so that we don't have the fire drill that we warned everyone about, it would be great. So just if you could be attentive, if you're not speaking, keep your line on mute because we're going to be unmuting everyone so that they can talk. Okay, so we're going to move forward. I'm going to turn the floor over to Sam now to Ahmad to introduce David Hunn.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. And welcome back, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed that exercise and that activity. Now, I think you remember a couple of weeks ago, David Hunn, he was one of our subject matter experts. Well, after last session, many of you, a number of you, emailed us looking for some of the ROI report information that David cited, and had many questions as a follow-up. So we thought that we would bring David back and let him talk a little bit more in depth about ROI and the reports that he was referring to. So it seemed fit for this day of talking about transformation stories to bring David back. And also, as you know, that David, he's the CEO and president of SkillSource Group, and the executive director of the Northern Virginia Workforce Investment Board. And his focus is on program design and collaboration, which he have tons of experience doing. So, you know, we welcome David, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Ahmad. As each of your states are considering or actually implementing transformational projects, I will be speaking briefly to our work here locally over the past 4 years in measuring, monitoring, and evaluating the public return on investment of our local workforce and job training services. In my few minutes with you, I will discuss why our local workforce board started this effort, how our ROI study was conducted, and the transformational impact that this annual study has had on our ongoing operations. And as a reminder, I represent the local Northern Virginia Workforce Board. We're a suburban workforce area right outside of Washington, D.C. We represent multiple fast-growing counties and cities in a very strong local regional economy. Of 15 local workforce areas in the state of Virginia, we are the largest by population, representing over 1.9 million residents and tens of thousands of businesses that include multiple Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 businesses. So why did we start this effort? Since our inception, our local business-led board has emphasized how best to serve the business community as employers. With our focus on employers, a study which estimates a public return on investment resonates with private sector businesses, which certainly understand that a business may need to spend money now to make even more money in the future. But in addition, state officials in Virginia have emphasized the close connection between economic development, and workforce programs for over a decade. Given that connection, our board determined that a relevant study methodology could be the regional economic growth projections used by local economic development officials when they're looking to attract a business into a local jurisdiction. Hence, we adopted the in-plan economic software modeling. The in-plan software system helps analysts address questions about economic study impacts and an analysis such as how does the local economy function and how would the economic consequences of a particular project, what would those be? So how was our study conducted? First, we believe that a third party outside of our organization conduct the analysis, as an independent analysis would be the most acceptable. And as we know here, our board utilized an economic modeling firm located in yet another part of the state of Virginia. In summary, our analysis calculates the dollar value of the inputs, that is the cost of what we spend to deliver our local programs, and compares that to the dollar value of our outputs. And that's estimated by the salary or wages of job seekers placed into employment through our 5 workforce centers. For those of you that are familiar with the Workforce Investment Act, we would only count those that are intensive services, those that we've invested quite a bit of time and money in, and their outcomes in terms of their annualized salary over the course of a fiscal year. We're going to walk through a schematic on the next page which transitions a very dry economic modeling report into a much more understandable format. For those of you that have had a chance to study our online analysis, you'll realize that it reads very much like an economist report. So what we've tried to do is use this schematic, and I'll walk you through it briefly, and then we'll conclude for questions. We're going to start up in the top left-hand corner of the schematic. And so for fiscal year 12, in our local workforce area, 578 adults were placed into employment through the public workforce system, and their salaries over the course of a fiscal year are estimated at over $20.7 million, nearly $21 million in estimated labor income. And then moving to your right, that box in the top right-hand corner, suggesting that as those newly employed individuals are now spending money, they were formerly unemployed, they're now spending money on housing, food, transportation, health care, and other goods and services. Moving down then to the middle of the page, those additional spending dollars that are happening in our local economy are actually then generating an additional 117 jobs, resulting in an additional $6 million in estimated labor income. So combining that, moving over to the far left in the middle of the page, over 695 total jobs have been created with a total labor income estimated at $26.7 million, nearly $27 million. That alone in our local economy generates additional tax revenue at the federal, state, and local levels of an estimated $2.4 million. And then finally, concluding on the bottom right, we then compare that number, the $26.7 million, against the investment that we have spent. Typically, it's at federal, state, and local tax dollars that are allocated to local workforce areas. And our third-party analysis conservatively estimates that the return on investment, the overall benefit, is 5.7 times the cost of delivering those programs. So we believe that it's a very conservative, but yet very verifiable method by which to estimate the work that we're all doing. Which leads me then to what I would say is the transformational impact of this study. First, and we've done this now for 4 years, and we have every intention of continuing. First, the results of this study provides our private sector board members, but all of our board members, but particularly the business members, the added confidence that the programs that they're overseeing through their board membership are actually contributing to the local economy, even given the number of critics that we're hearing at the federal and state levels on programs such as ours. But having that additional metric to share with state and local stakeholders is key for us to convey the value of the services that we're providing. And I would say at a local area, and even for my colleagues at the state who might be listening, this additional metric is really key for us that we use repeatedly when we submit our many funding proposals to other state, federal, corporate, or foundation funders. We have encouraged our state colleagues in Virginia to adopt either this model or other types of economic modeling that shows a very strong return on investment for the workforce programs that we're serving. Ahmad, I'll stop there, and maybe we can take on any questions that there might be.
Great, thanks, David. And yes, we do have some questions. Our first question is ROI often represents a cultural shift for organizations. What changes did adopting such a method have on your organization or your partners or your partners?
Well, I'm not sure if doing the ROI study changed our culture or whether our culture moved us towards even moving towards an ROI study in the first place. I guess maybe it's because of our private sector-led board that has emphasized repeatedly the need to show our returns, how best we do it, and we have found that this study has been a key ingredient to that. Now, it might be that this could change our culture in the years ahead. For example, in terms of the types of programs that we might choose to take on, as far as only those that would be potentially showing a return on investment. But I will say this of someone who spent his career in public sector, that in many cases the public services might not necessarily only show a positive return. There might be a critical need to show a negative return in order to be able to deliver the services in the first place. I'll turn it back to you, Ahmad.
Great, thank you. So our second question is there a standard economic modeling tool that you use, such as IMPLAN? Excuse me.
Yes, IMPLAN, right. So IMPLAN is one of, I'm sure, other models that are out there. IMPLAN, of course, is based out of Minnesota, and it is a proprietary software modeling. We used it here in Virginia, and in terms of our local board, because of the recommendation of our economic modeling firm. Now, again, in Virginia, many local economic developers are using the IMPLAN software. There might be other models out there that you're more familiar with. I think the key for us, and why I emphasize the connection between economic and workforce development in Virginia, we wanted to use a product and have an outcome that would resonate with others outside of our field. And we felt that the IMPLAN software and the economic modeling that I've outlined here really would compare apples to apples as economic developers were looking at this data.
Great, thank you. We have another question coming in. Let's see here. I'll take one here. So what are a couple of more specific ways that this tool has changed the way you engage with employers? Can you give some examples before and after? Some before and after examples.
I'm just trying to think of some examples here. I know that as we've reached out to recruit new board members from private sector corporations, typically the larger companies in our region, when they see the fact that we have utilized this tool, that we are willing to self-scrutinize and to determine how best our services are being measured, I think that lends a bit of credibility so that a private sector board member would be willing to lend their credibility to our board as well. I also know that even one of our vice chairmen, who's on our board, really wanted to make sure that he was comfortable with his understanding of the modeling, and to the point where he's convinced that we've taken a very prudent but yet very rational approach to this study, and is willing to, of course, have his name associated and his company's name associated with this information.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have some additional questions coming in. Let's see here. All right. So what are some examples of decisions you've made or that others have made resulting from the data that the ROI study revealed?
Well, I think it's done a couple things for us, and we've been able to perfect the study each year that we've done it. We've been able to example, and I have not shared this with the moderators of this group. We have actually applied the same methodology to specific programs that we have that we're administering, particularly ones around offender reentry, and we've applied the same methodology to targeted programs of serving offenders and looking at the reduced recidivism. And really what that has done is given us a snapshot of the return on investment for ex-offender projects in our region and in statewide in Virginia. We have not replicated that study. That has been several years, but I guess my point in that was a specific decision to see if this was very appropriate, the study methodology was appropriate for targeted programs, and I think there is value, assuming that there's funding to be able to pursue that. Secondarily, I'd say that going forward, we would expect to continue to do this study annually, to share the results widely, really more in terms of recognizing that we believe we're not recalcitrant in saying that we believe we're providing a public good. It's not a social service, but it has much more of an economic development benefit than most elected officials would typically highlight, and therefore we're quite proud in making sure that even critics of ours might need to know the level of output that we're providing.
Great, thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Kristen now, and she's going to bring forth some of the great images that you all have provided us during the activity. And here she is. But before I hand it over to Kristen, I just want to say once again thank you to David. Some great presentation and some great answers, and really appreciate your work and providing us with your expertise. All right, here are Kristen.
Hi, everybody. This is great. Thank you for sending your images in. So we're going to do 2 minutes each. It'll go very quickly, and we're starting with Colorado. Go, Karen.
Okay, just to reiterate my earlier points from the presentation, this first image is really the way it was before, when we were trying to get our goals aligned, get our common goals together, and structure and methods. And then the second one you see there is really us, starting to form the infrastructure. So we've got all the cats marching in one direction, sort of. And then the third slide, of course, is the third images for, how we've just begun to start working together as one team across the 65 regions that we have. So you see those cats trying to overcome those walls and barriers by working together.
That's great, Karen. Thank you so much. Okay, we're moving to North Carolina. Go, North Carolina.
Full direction.
Hello? Yes.
You can hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, thank you. North Carolina is, sorry for the rough draft here, but North Carolina, I think the center of everything we're going through is change. And that began about a year or so ago where we merged our employment services and our WIA services together and became the Division of Workforce Solutions. We, as a result of that, our goal is the quality customer solutions for all. That's both job seeker and the business, and we are becoming very market-driven to get into our integrated technology, which will be new and go live for us in July. That's taking about 8 systems into one, and it's a very robust job matching system with real-time labor market information. This is something we've had, but it did not operate well. So we're really excited about this. We've moved forward, gotten business input on what they need in a robust job matching system. Also moving into integrated service delivery at our one-stop systems. That also goes live in July. So I started to just draw a tornado, whirlwind, and just leave it at that, but felt that just didn't give it justice as to everything that is going on. But all of this is to say that we're moving closer and closer with the goal of meeting the needs of our businesses. We're also dealing with the new governor and new legislative body, and they're looking at changing our regions, privatizing our economic development and a couple of other components within our Commerce Department where we are also located. So all of that is going to, and some days, you know, we know we're moving forward. Some days we feel like maybe we're walking on hot coals. But the fact of the matter is we're moving forward, and it's all for business.
Thanks so much, North Carolina. And who is speaking? Could people introduce themselves as they speak? Who is speaking for North Carolina?
This is Laura.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laura. Great, and we love your drawing. Okay, we're moving on to Montana. Wow.
Well, hi,
Wow.
this is from Montana, and we're so glad to be involved with this. In coming up with the transformational theme, or first off,
we're having a little trouble hearing you, Montana. Can you get a little closer to your speaker?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. Thanks.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks for having us on this, and this is a great project to make you think about this. But we actually came up with a theme where we are having a business service conference, and our theme for it was Come and Grow with Us. So our presentation and the theme of our conference for our statewide business service reps is to plant the seeds of inspiration, the information and insight to give new life to services, and to cultivate relationships with colleagues to benefit ourselves as well as the customers and the community, and to identify new ways to sow interest in what you have to offer, nurture skills in yourself and others, and harvest a healthy crop of resources. And through this, our goal is to do very similar to what Karen was talking about in Colorado. We're trying to unify services and make sure that everybody's on the same page and understands the same needs, and that we're working together to come up with good solutions that work for the employers in the state.
Well, thanks so much, Montana. This was great. Very inspiring. And who's speaking for Montana?
Kari Martell.
Great. Thanks, Kari.
You're
okay, we're moving on now to Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, please introduce who's speaking for you. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. This is Kim Brady from Oklahoma, and I'm sad because I did touch-ups while people were talking, and I sent my next image, so I was like, oh, they won't have the full thing. But anyway, for Oklahoma, we kind of thought of, you know, consciousness, but awareness, new theme, and really some of the key words that I threw on the picture afterwards were raising awareness, sharing ideas. We have three things that we're trying to not necessarily standardize, but make sure that everyone's doing across the state in our centers when they work with business. We're going to do, regular focus group activities, have a standard BSR curriculum that our staff will be going through, and then implementing some email blasts that are that we do statewide, but they're very localized. So in each community, they're going to be really personalized for that community, those businesses, those employers. So those are just, we just really thought of consciousness. We think it's really important to just make our businesses, our employers aware of how we can help them, who we are, what we want to do to improve just the economic state of Oklahoma.
Thank you so much, Oklahoma. That was really great. We love the thoughtfulness that you put into it. We're moving now to Maryland. Who's speaking for Maryland? Maryland, are you on? We'll just give them a second. Maryland, you unmute your line by hitting *6 usually. Okay, Maryland will come back, and in the meantime, we'll go ahead to Florida. Florida, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. This is Debbie McMullen from Tallahassee. I love the creativity that's been shown in some of these other one word. We've actually used 4 words, but it's very, very good. Good thoughts. Florida is moving forward with one voice, one goal, very much like some of the comments that were made by North Carolina. In the entire state coming together to implement, well, first of all, design and then implement one strategy that can be used statewide for business service representatives. We're going not just with information gathering, but also in the product that we're selling so that we can be consistent throughout the state. So we're using one voice, one goal to achieve our strategies.
Way to be assertive and clear. Thanks so much, Florida. Now we're moving on to Mississippi. Whoa. So who's speaking for Mississippi? Mississippi, are you on the line? I'm hearing a little bit of a click, so I'll just give them a second.
Okay.
Mississippi, are you there?
This is Mississippi.
Fantastic. We can hear you.
Okay.
We love your drawing.
This is Yolanda with the Department of Employment Security. So what we realized is we had one-way communication. So the word that should have appeared on the picture is communication. In Mississippi, we developed an integrated system that included online services for businesses. But in the development of that system, we did not consult with business. So when we started the EBE initiative, we wanted to know from business why were they not using our system in the large numbers that we had anticipated. And what we learned was we developed a system that was not user-friendly and didn't meet the needs of business. So using the business representatives from our economic development agency, we basically went region to region to demonstrate the system and ask for feedback on how to make it better. So our picture starts out saying, look at this new system we designed for you, and business tells us they had no idea. And so as a result of those face-to-face meetings with our business and industry, we have improved the system and will continue to improve it to make it more user-friendly for the business community.
Well, thank you so much, Yolanda, and apologize, your slide disappeared there for a second, but my speedy colleagues on the back end got it right back in due time. So thank you, speedy colleagues, and thank you, Yolanda. And we're moving on now to South Carolina.
Good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, this is Mike Buckman from South Carolina, and I want to preface this by saying I struggle between two different words, transformation and foundation. But I went with foundation because you can't successfully build a house without first creating its foundation, and that's kind of what we're doing here in South Carolina. And I know as we spoke at the summit and with some of the other states as well, we're well along on our way with developing our own business service metrics. And we've actually achieved SWIB approval from our State Workforce Investment Board, and we are moving towards putting together a work group with both local and state support in order to kind of refine the process on how we're going to actually, on how we're actually going to do the measures, the metrics and stuff. So we've developed them, but now it's a matter of how we're going to track them, what system we're going to use, and the process by which we can get them. And then also with business service standards as well. And we're going through a little bit of a change as well. We've got a new executive director coming on board here in a few weeks. And once she gets on board, then I'm sure she's going to have her own vision and guidance on the way of the future. But through the EBE, I think the metrics and the standards are kind of our two initiatives we're working on now.
That's terrific. Thanks so much, Mike. And now we're moving on to, not sure, to who has the ring?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Great.
Hi.
Go ahead, Minnesota.
This is Dave Nierman from Minnesota. I'm the Field Operations Director for Job Service here. And we just decided to keep a very simple graphic. And by the way, Target is the corporate headquarters for, in Minnesota is the corporate headquarters for Target, so a little plug for Target too. But this graphic represents, first of all, the fact that we have targeted the efforts of our business services reps much more by having them focus on targeted industries and occupations in demand based on local workforce investment board plans. So one of the things that has changed is before, when they were more like all things to all people and really oftentimes did not really have a focus for what they were doing when they were going out to find businesses to visit. Now they do have more of a focus. And one of the things that we did is that every manager who is in charge of business services reps was given a template to write a business services plan, and those plans are what guides the activities of the business services reps for the coming year. And again, those are based on local workforce investment board annual plans and their targeted industries. And the reason we have a ring on there with the target is because we also changed their focus to building relationships rather than just counting tick marks and counting consultations, and going to a system where we are now measuring the relationship building rather than just measuring what it is they do. And so that's about it.
Thanks so much, Minnesota. Okay, now we're moving on to who's got unified. Okay, well, the state team that has unified, come to the table.
Hi, sorry.
There we go. Who's speaking?
Hi, it's Colleen. We were really Florida, which you already really did Florida. I was just going to make a comment on pretty much the same thing as the state already said. We're one strategy. We are trying to, the whole state is trying to work together with the governor to be accountable and to, I guess you would say, get up to speed with CRM system, business development processes, and we're working with, the toolboxes to try to all help each other and become more unified to be more successful for better customer service.
Thanks so much, Colleen. And now we're moving to, I think we may be at the end here, so let's back up and see if we can get Maryland. Is Maryland on the line?
Yes, Maryland had a little bit of technical glitch before. the operator had the wrong. Well, what we saw this as prior to really finding out what other people were doing, that they were overcoming the same problems we were, or trying to accomplish. And we kind of saw this as a mountaintop that was maybe not accessible. And now we found out there's other resources out there. We're moving a lot quicker than we anticipated. We have, since we submitted the drawing, we have found that we've accomplished some things, so we're a little further along than the drawing might indicate. We've done some basic sales training with the staff. We've redesigned the outreach and marketing materials that we're using. We're reviewing the possibility of going to a single 1-800 business line with a trained team of staff to be able to handle the entry of job orders, answering questions, and maybe even adding to it an occupational help desk. We're looking at, we've already done field analysis. We've looked at all 12 jurisdictions, how they're handling businesses, et cetera. And we have apprised them of the great need for regionalization as we see shrinking resources coming in the future. These are all things, but today has been a veritable avalanche of ideas and things, and we're going to follow up with each and every one of them that came about today.
Well, thanks so much, Maryland, and I think I speak for everybody when I say that we are glad to have helped along your avalanche of ideas. So let's move on now. Thanks, everybody. That was so great. And we are going to move on now to just a quick reminder of what's next. So we will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our usual time, and it'll be a 90-minute session. Again, there won't be homework tomorrow. There will be an activity in the middle, and there may be a video in the middle. So you may need to go off, watch a video, and come back. We're still figuring out the technical details of that part. And then on Friday, we will see you at the Social Media That Works session. It's a bit longer. It's from 1 to 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, both because we've got some activities and because we built a little bit of extra time in as it's our last session in the series. So with that, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'm going to turn it to Ahmad and our DOL partners to close.
Great. Thanks, Kristen. If there are any outstanding questions that you may have before we end today, please type them in. We'll try our best to answer those between SPR and DOL. Other than that, I just want to say thank you for, being part of this engagement, this web meeting. It was a great experience, lots of great activities, great stories about transformation. And it also reminds me how many resources that we have out there amongst everyone, and we would love to learn more about what's going on. I believe Sam mentioned earlier that he is calling and emailing and communicating with the states regarding some of your resources that you could share with us as effective practices for what we're trying to gather for all of you as teams, and also for future grantees that will, or future states that will have these resources available to them. So if you can, please email us, let us know what you have, and we would love to hear from you. So I want to first thank everyone, Tanya, Karen, David, for providing examples and their subject matter expertise, as well as our great SPR team for really pulling off just great work because of all the great activities that are going on at one time. And also I want to thank DOL and their team for providing us with the opportunity to engage you all today. So we're really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and once again, we'll have this plan laid out, and we're really looking forward to engaging you. So with that said, I would love to turn this over to Jonathan and DOL for their last remarks. So thank you, and have a great day.
Great. Thanks, Ahmad, and thanks to SBR. I really want to to let everybody know, they've been working around the clock to make sure this webinar goes off without a hitch, and it's been great to see the creativity and enthusiasm that everybody's put into their slides and participation, and so we're really looking forward to keeping that enthusiasm going throughout the week. Just a couple things before we close out and get ready for tomorrow. Like Ahmad said, as Sam has been doing, getting in contact with you to share all these tools and resources that you have. I think we're going to have a great collection for the toolkit that we'll have ready for the beginning of year 2, and really have a great way to share all these materials with each other and really build on each other's successes going forward. In the meantime, a lot of our resources are posted on the Business Engagement Workforce31.org website, so if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I certainly encourage you to go there and see what tools you can customize to your own needs. I know some people have used them to success, especially the BSR training modules that we've highlighted several times, but we also have some new materials up there, some facilitators toolkits for holding your own convenings. And yeah, Kristen's just put the website up there in the chat box, so please keep checking out there, and that'll also be the landing page for any other new resources we have that's generated over the next month of this data collection. Let's see, just looking at my notes here. Oh, and then finally, just a quick note on a grants management side of things. I know several of you are pursuing budget and statement of work modifications. We're working through those with the grant office to process those. They're all moving ahead now. For those of you in regions 4, 5, and 6, Megan has been out of the office for the last week, and hopefully will be returning Monday. But if you need to get in touch with us, I'm certainly available to take your calls, so please drop me an email or call me on the phone. And I think that's it for everything. Like I said, we're really looking forward to the next 2 webinars this week, and appreciated your participation today. So with that, I wish everybody a great afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow.